All right, we're at the top of the hour. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thanks everyone for joining today. My name is John Bors, President of Plexus International. I'll be today's host and facilitator. We've got a great webinar today focused on improving organizational performance with the new Aerospace Improvement Maturity Model, AIMM. A few housekeeping items just before we jump in. We are scheduled for 1 hour today. We will try to maintain that time frame. We may run over a little bit at the end when we get into the question and answer. We will have a series of poll questions, 2 batches that we ask all attendees to complete. These will be delivered live during the session. Really, this helps us get a better sense of who we have in attendance and learn more about our audience. So please, we ask for your participation. Should you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can utilize the question and answer feature directly within Zoom. You'll see that at the bottom of the screen. At the end of the event, we will answer all the questions. So please understand you're not being ignored. We just want to gather those and answer as many as we can live. Any ones we can't answer live, we'll take offline and get you a response, written communication. I will do my best to stay out of the way. You're not here to see me, you're here to hear from the panel of experts that we have today. And we do have a great panel of experts. We'll start with quick introductions. Jorg, start off with you, Andy, Terry, Alfio, and then Jim. Tell us a little bit about yourself, role in the industry, and then why you think this is important, an important initiative, and one thing you hope attendees take away. So Jorg, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Good morning, good day, good afternoon to everyone. I'm happy to be with you. Jorg Werner, my name. As John mentioned already, I'm working for Airbus, and I'm head of quality procurement in Airbus. And my second hobby is leading the IAQG sector group in Europe, and I'm very happy about that. And yeah, for me, the AIMM tool is very important in the process of it as well, because it is a new tool, and to my opinion, it will help us all to go forward, to continuously improve quality and safety in aeronautics.
Thank you. Andy?
Welcome everyone, welcome to this webinar. I'm pleased to be here. I'm Andy Marr, I'm the lead for BAE Systems across the air sector. I'm based in the United Kingdom. As my second role or hobby, I suppose, I am also the president for the IAQG, and in that role, obviously I'm pleased to bring this product to market. And my takeaway would be for you to think of it as moving beyond compliance. You know, in our industry, we're very focused on compliance, which is you know, brilliant for the quality of the goods and services we produce. But this is about how do we differentiate and how do we move beyond that simple compliance piece.
Terry?
Hello, everybody. So my name is Thierry Coutan. I am the European representative of the IAQG 9100 working group, and I am also a co-creator of AIMM. I have been responsible of the 9100 certification of Airbus commercial aircraft for about 10 years. And I have also been ISO 9001 certification auditor for a few years in an international certification body, which is DNV. And I am very pleased to be here today to speak about AIMM that we really enjoy to develop, and I hope you will enjoy to use it.
Terry. Alfio?
Hello, welcome to everybody. I'm Alfio Mantineo. I'm the European representative of the AIQG 9100 working group, and I've been also co-creator of AIMM. my main activity, of course, is a different one. I work as the head of the Product Assurance Safety Office in the European Space Agency. And I'm also a certified auditor under 9001 and 27000. And when we speak about AIMM, we want to do with, of course, the idea of giving some support and some help to all the organizations applying quality and improvement. So I hope that you get out from this webinar with this idea and you see support for that.
Thanks, Alfio. Jim, introduce yourself.
Okay, hello and welcome everybody. My name is Cem Alkan. I am a founding partner of Hezarpen Aerostructures. We are a small company of 50 people, mostly making benchtop assemblies for commercial airliners. I also have an active duty within the company as a program manager. I hope the attendees will be inspired to look into this simple and efficient tool for improving their own quality management systems. We were involved in the evaluation of the AIMM, and I had a chance to evaluate AIMM on this aspect.
Great. Hey, thanks, everyone. Appreciate that. We're going to jump into our first poll. Again, this is really to learn about our audience, to better understand who we have. We're going to allow 60 seconds. We typically like to get to about 70%, so I would ask for your participation. We will go ahead and launch that. You'll see there are 4 questions in the first batch. What are your biggest challenges in your quality management system? What information sources do you use to assess performance? What maturity models does your organization currently use? And then have you explored the AIMM web application? So you should be able to see the polling questions now. Again, we'd like to get to about 70%. And I don't think anyone wants to sit and look at me. So please ask for your participation. Looks like slowly coming in. Okay, now we're moving. And we will share the results with everyone after we reach a target number here. Okay, about 20% here. Give it another 15 seconds here. Good, about 40%. Just a few more seconds here. I don't want to cut anybody off, but I'll be mindful of time here. So. Now everyone's really flowing. Okay, get to that 70%, and we will cut it. Okay, go ahead and share the results here. Looks like number 1 area of challenge is corrective action. Internal audits as a primary source of performance improvement needs or action. Looks like we got a mixture of different maturity models used, with none being the top. And looks like we have a lot of people that have not yet explored the AIMM web application. So we encourage you to do so after the webinar. Hopefully you have time. We will be sending links and different information to attendees. So we would encourage everyone to explore that further. Go ahead and stop sharing these. Terry, starting off with you, we often talk about why the need for AIMM when we already have 9100 certification. Take us through that a little bit.
Okay, so thank you for this question. Already, if you have the 9100 certification, this is already a very good achievement that shows that your organization is committed to improve its customer satisfaction. But thousands of companies worldwide are also certified according to that same standard. So maybe it would worth to stand out from the pack. This is the first point. And really thanks to the IAQG, in our industrial domain, we have the chance to benefit from the experience of the expertise of recognized managers coming from all over the world, and who work together to establish a simple, free and progressive guidance toward industrial excellence. So many other industries do not have this chance. So it's, for me, I think it would be a shame not to take advantage of it. But above all, I think that using AIMM, and it's not, I think, I'm convinced that using AIMM will help to improve the performance of your organization and the satisfaction of your customer at your own speed and in the direction that you decide.
Great, thanks, Terry. Alfio, anything to add from your side?
I would just want to just confirm what has been said, basically, and it's also the idea is that, of course, the focus is mostly on the continual improvement aspect of the standard. And this is, of course, the key element that should be considered when you try to evolve your organization. It's not just to achieve the certification. This is, of course, the first step, but then it's a journey to progress toward a more effective and possibly even efficient organization. So this is not to be forgotten. This is the basis of the standard itself, and we hope to help with AIMM, of course.
Great. And Andy, from your side, same question. We already have 9100 certification, so really why the need for AIMM?
Yeah, so I think, you know, if I put it in the context of COVID, a difficult couple of years for industry as a whole, as we come out the back of that, we see primes starting to increase the rate of production. I see AIMM as playing a really important part for organisations to be able to focus on that margin expansion, i.e. by removing some of the waste that they've got in the organisation, focusing on improvement, and therefore they can hold the, you know, the margin or even increase their margin as production rates ramp up. So really important.
Great. And Jim, anything else to add from your side?
Being a small company, we don't always have the necessary resources or the opportunities to make benchmarks, so we can't see how efficient our quality management system is. By using AIMM, we can determine the efficiency and the maturity of our system, and it is done in a quantitative way. So it's an objective method for us.
Thanks to all. And you know, really, when we first heard about this project as Plexus, you know, being a training organization, building off of what Jim said, is this provides context and really a guide to future performance improvement and the health of the QMS. So that's really what got us excited. I think it's a great initiative from the IAQG. One question we've gotten recently from customers, and Jorg, maybe you can help address this. Let's say my organization already uses a maturity model, either an existing external maturity model or something that's developed internally. Can I still use AIMM?
Yes, you can. First, it's already very good that you have one maturity model. But yes, you can do it. You can validate your own model with that one. And I think you should use it as well, because it is very obvious that this AIMM will become an international standard. So it is it is important to move in this direction in order to speak as well the same language than the whole industry.
Terry, anything to add on top of that?
No, I think no. Let's move on. No, nothing more.
Good. Andy, from the certification side of things, if I'm an organization that's already certified or organization aspiring to become certified, what role does AIMM play or help my organization in that process?
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple of different viewpoints there that you can look at it from. So if your organisation already is certified, you've made the first step in terms of adhering to the required standard that a lot of the primes want, a lot of the customers flow down, and so that's a really good place to start. But that doesn't mean you've got an optimised organisation. It doesn't mean that you haven't got further room for improvement, and AIMM offers that ability to look at where you currently are, look at those higher maturity levels, and develop a plan to increase your maturity and therefore offer value back to your business by whether that be increasing process flow, whether it be reducing waste. It doesn't really matter, but there's more that you can offer to your organisation by being able to follow the maturity model. For those organisations that aren't certified, it gives you almost like a digital checklist to determine how well you're doing against each clause, and it gives you the opportunity to prepare and plan and set a trajectory for your organisation to become from a learner where you may be currently if you haven't got any certification to really be move through the different ranks and ultimately get to world class and benchmark at the higher maturity levels.
Great. And maybe building on what you just said too, Andy, you often hear about the world's becoming more complex. Product technology is evolving more rapidly than ever. Supply chain complexity. Obviously, the pandemic didn't help the situation at all. But really, what role do you see AIMM playing and looking towards the future of the QMS in the aerospace sector?
Yeah, and so it wouldn't be beyond the thought process to determine whether AIMM at some point in the future would become part of the certification standard. So if I look far enough into the future, I could see a position where organisations may demand to be able to look at the differentiation that there is within the supply chain. So I see one route coming down from customers' primes to be able to look at the fidelity of the and maturity ultimately of their supply chain. But I also see a route around technology and digital. So this isn't a spreadsheet-based version that we've created. We've created something that you can input your results into online. You've got an ability to work on it and upload, and ultimately you can compare that year on year with yourselves, or you can compare that as a benchmark with others. So this digital technology that we've put in place is moving us from just what I would class as paper under glass or an electronic version. We are starting to try and move to digital, and the advantage that we also spin off from that is we can start to compare and look and determine if there's parts of the standard that we may want to increase focus on, whether that be through CBs or whether it be through the writing of the standard. So there's some mutual beneficial parts with respect to AIMM.
Great. And just a general comment for everyone, you'll notice we'll be jumping back and forth between presentation slides and being able to see all of us. Really, we don't want death by PowerPoint. So if you're not seeing presentation on the screen, that's intentional. Alfio, one last question for you before we jump back in. How do you see AIMM supporting the next revision of the 9100 standard?
Actually, the idea of AIMM is to support not only continual improvement, but also to create a more informal communication flow. When we implement a tool, we're really focusing on the possibility of getting a flow of the people using it. And this is because we are focusing on the implementation side of 9100 requirement. There is no the concern about certification or all the formalism associated with that. And therefore, the feedback mechanism is there not only to report about bugs, of course, can be some of those, and we want happy to fix it, but also to discuss about clarification and also suggestion and recommendation for best practices. This, of course, will find a way through the 9100 working group in a new version of the standard, of course, and also an improvement of AIMM as well.
Great. We'll go ahead and jump back into screen share here. Bear with me for a moment. Terry, maybe take us through, I'm assuming AIMM was not developed in a vacuum, and it was a lot of people involved, but take us through who was involved in development, who was involved in validation of AIMM.
Okay, yes. So effectively, it took around 3 years to develop the whole approach, including the software application. So there were more than 20 experts worldwide who developed and who review the various modules of AIMM. And in addition, there were about 15 companies of all sizes who tested each module, module after module of AIMM in order to validate what we had developed and also to take some lessons learned, to take their feedback in order to improve, to be taken into account for the development of the next modules. And I'm very happy today that Ezarfen, represented by Jim Alkan, can be with us today. It shows that AIMM can be used by very small companies and has not been developed only for major ones.
Great. Yeah, this was one of the things that was very impressive to me. It's a long journey, a lot of contributors. So I think great work by all involved and on the development end of validation. Andy, I understand the IAQG fully funded the development of the AIMM web application, including all the technical work that went into it. And AIMM is also being offered free in the web application. Take us through why the IAQG made that decision and that commitment, and really what that means to AIMM in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, as part of the IAQG strategic working group, we focused on future requirements and how we move the industry forward. So the initial idea was spawn out of some strategic activities a number of years ago, as Thierry was just mentioning. The reason that it's so important and the reason that it was obvious for us to support it and invest in it is because industry does move on. Customer requirements are continually being heightened and their expectation increases, and therefore we really wanted to do something in order to make that differentiation, as I've mentioned before. And the advantage of the IAQG investing in it, rather than applying to a third party, etc., is that we make sure that we can protect that data. We make sure that it's not going to be compromised, but we do have the advantage of being able to anonymize the data and then use those inputs to, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, to determine if there's any areas of the standard that we should be thinking about changing or just providing guidance material for organizations to be able to, really understand through one of them, maybe our other products in terms of the supply chain management handbook, what avenues they've got in order to be able to improve. So, really important for us to invest, vitally important that, we started to use the technology available, and really pleased to be working with Plexus to, partner and offer a further in-depth training for those organizations that wish to take that up.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Terry. And as Andy mentioned, there is a training that is available through Plexus. We'll cover briefly at the end, and you'll get some links and follow-up information. There's also a free demo training, but again, we'll make sure you get that information. Your question first for you. We often talk about certification really as a stepping stone, as a foundational starting point. How can AIMM really help the industry take that next step from the foundational level and avoid some of these repeat non-conformities and year-to-year trends we see in certification audit data?
Yeah, I think as Andy said at the beginning, it is helping us to go beyond compliance. So for me, it's clearly there to raise the bar concerning quality improvement and awareness. It is meant to be and to support a self-assessment. so that it helps as well to avoid escapes and forces to do robust root cause analysis afterwards when when an escape happened. So this is for me the most important thing.
Thanks, Jörg. Alfio, anything else to add to that? Again, what you're seeing on the screen now is reoccurring NC major minor data consolidated, but anything else to add to what Jörg said?
Basically, just to add that the idea behind any conscious improvement is to have a realistic picture of the current status, and then a way to identify the gap from the desired the next one. The desired outcome and the practices at the different levels have been gathered from the standards and the collective experience of our colleagues that help in distilling and validating the tool. On top of that, as I mentioned before, the feedback we received and we hope to receive in the future will constitute a driver for the evolution of AIMM. So from this point of view, also we see some potential improvement.
Thanks, Alfio. Jim, along the same lines of the previous question, in the context of your organization, what role do you see AIMM playing to provide or enhance the value you bring to your customers?
Well, the quality management systems are the key to deliver good products continuously. In order to do that, the system itself has to improve and evolve. In small-sized companies like ours, once the quality system is established, it's not easy to make structural changes or maintain a continuous improvement within the system. There are two main challenges against this. The first one is the limited resources, and the second one is the experience and the vision of the leader, top management. In order to overcome these challenges, AIMM here provides necessary guidelines and breaks down the challenges into simple levels so that you can navigate at your own speed and keep improving the system and making you more responsive to customer requests.
Thanks, Jim. So AIMM, as many of you may know, consists of 26 modules. Terry, I understand each module is aligned with specific 9100 clauses. Take us through, why did you align it with the 9100 structure? And really, how does this help with the interconnectivity of different shall statements that exist in the 9100 standard?
Okay, so we align AIMM with the 9100 structure because that was the simplest way to do it, and it is the most known structure. We consider to align AIMM according to a process map, but we very quickly stopped that because each organization has the freedom to define its process depending of its specificities and context. So we kept the 9100 structure. Nevertheless, those chapters of the standard are not of equal size. Some are very small, some are quite big, and aligning by 100% the structure of AIMM on the structure of the 9100 would have created big discrepancies in the way or the duration or the weight of one module compared to the other one. And so we made, in fact, 3 adaptations to the standard from the chapter 7.1 from resource. We extracted monitoring and measuring resources because this is mainly taken into account by the manufacturing or operational processes, and it is a block as itself. We group awareness and communication because also it makes sense because in the organization it's more or less the same team, the same function who is dealing with that. And the big section 8.5, we split it in 3 sections, A, B, and C, in order to avoid having a big module to be assessed. So this is the concerning the structure, and also you ask, if I understood well, how we ensure the interconnectivity between the shall statement and the assessment criteria. In fact, we have reformulated all the 9100 requirements in the form of expected outcomes, which are positive statements of the result expected from the requirement. If I just take an example, in the section 7.2, there is one requirement saying the organization shall ensure that persons are competent of the basis of appropriate, blah, blah, blah. So the organization shall ensure, this is the requirement. The corresponding expected outcome that we wrote in AIMM is persons are competent on the basis of appropriate education, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a statement of fact. This is what we expect after the application of the requirement. It is neither a requirement nor a recommendation. And based on that, based on those expected outcome, persons are competent on the basis of appropriate education. What does it mean when we are at level 1? What does it mean at level 2? And so on. And so each single requirement of the standard has been translated into an expected outcome. And then the criteria per level have been established for each single expected outcome.
Great, thanks, Terry. And really, I think that's one of the unique differentiators of AIMM is this was built on what organizations should already be doing, right? 9100 certified organizations or those aspiring to become certified. And AIMM was uniquely designed for aviation space defense, right? This was a very tailored with aerospace at the forefront and in mind. And I think that's really a huge differentiator for AIMM compared to other maturity models. Terry, you did a good job of segueing us into the expected outcomes explanation. So my understanding, each of the modules has a series of expected outcomes, and Alfio, maybe add to what Terry said a little bit. What are expected outcomes? And the expected outcomes only consider 9100 shall requirements from the 9100 standard?
No, in a way, AIMM is based on an auditing approach. This has been the concept behind the system. So therefore, the outcome can be seen as the necessary evidences to state compliance to the specific requirement. In a way, this can be seen as the implicit expectations that are linked to the 9100 clause. But however, as already indicated before, the outcomes indicate the progress over a scale, the levels that we see in the tool. So this exceed the bare compliance with 9100 shells and more address what is not just indicated in the standard clause, but what has been seen by the community of experts as something that you expect in a more mature organization to achieve over time.
Thanks, Alfio. Terry, for an average 9100 certified organization, where would I expect to fall on the maturity scale? And does that differ depending on the specific module?
Okay, so first of all, AIMM does not calculate a global maturity level for the organization. It does it per module or section of the standard. So, and also when we wrote the various modules of AIMM, we discovered that inside the current standard, there are some requirements which correspond to a maturity level 2, some to maturity level 3 or 4 or 5. They are the current requirements of the standard are not linked to a given level of maturity. Nevertheless, there is a certain level of correlation that exists between the certification and maturity level. And let's say that for an average certified organization, if the organization is certified and if we do behind that the maturity assessment, each of the 26 modules should probably be assessed around level 3, around maturity level 3. But it doesn't mean that because you self-assessed yourself at level 3, that you will get systematically the certification. No, it can help, but there is not a link one-to-one.
Okay. I think, yeah, your point too, Terry, it's important clarification for those that are not familiar with AIMM, that the maturity level is at the module level. It's not at a whole aggregate system level. So very focused at the specific modules. Andy, from your perspective, if I'm achieving level 4 or level 5, what are the benefits my organization can expect? I mean, is there a connection, cost reduction benefits? Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, I think so. All those involved in industry will recognise that there are areas that we can continually improve in. And when I look at my organisation, whether that be products in the factory or in-service support, I think about the process flow a lot. So it doesn't matter if you're offering a service-based contract or you're working on a manufacturing contract. Being able to optimize that process flow through the organization allows you to do things that you said you would do. So it keeps your integrity high, it keeps you the ability to deliver on time, etc. And so when we get to levels 4 and level 5, we'd expect there to be a lot less interruption in how your business is run, and therefore you can offer that that real operational excellence, flawless execution, and ultimately with that, I talk about margin expansion right at the top of the call. Your CFOs, your chief financial officers are interested in their ability to either grow top line margin through additional sales or grow bottom line margin through the ability of being really effective and really efficient in what you do. So when we get to levels 4 and into levels 5, we're looking to offer those efficiencies and effectiveness in order to reduce your overall costs, and that keeps you competitive as an organisation within the aviation, space and defence industry.
Thanks, Andy. Jorg, any additional comments to add from your side?
No, it's hard to add something to Andy, because he well explained it, that it's for me as well, the focus on cost of non-quality reduction very clearly. And on the other hand, yes, with that self-assessment and this proven improvement, proven transparency, you can let's say improve your attractiveness as well to gain or to win new contracts. This is clear. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Jorg. Just to give perspective, what's shown on the screen, if you're not familiar with the AIMM web application, this is showing an example assessment with a target level that has been identified for 10 modules in the assessment with a target of level 4 or level 5. 4 modules have been assessed with currently a level 3. So just give you a perspective, this is the type of imagery or visual that you're able to generate through the AIMM web application. So just give a little perspective there. We'll come out of screen share here, and Alfio, we often get questions from customers. How should I present this to my management? What are my selling points? Why AIMM? So what are 3 top selling points you would make or recommend they make to them?
Okay, not necessarily in priority order. I would say first is a simple tool to self-assess the level of maturity of the organization process, of organization function, or even the entire organization. So it's very flexible from this point of view. Second is based on 9100 and therefore specific for the aerospace, and will be synergic with the 9001 certification, 9100 certification, sorry. Third it provides clear indication of the gaps if you want to reach a next level of maturity. So you can easily develop an improvement plan.
Great. Thanks, Alfio. Andy, maybe give us 3 more, so we've got a total of 6 then. What are any other selling points you would make on top?
I think I might, embellish some of the ones that have already been mentioned, but that clear, visible, articulate picture that you can present your current state and then work towards a future state, so you see where the gaps are. I think is an absolute selling point of the AIMM tool set. I also think, one of the things that are really important is it gives you the ability to demonstrate a continuous improvement mindset to your customers or your primes. So, being really clear and being available to say, look, this is where we are, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, or this is where we were, and this is where we've moved to, gives demonstrable evidence to a customer to say that you're on a continuous improvement journey, which is, as Jörg mentioned a few seconds ago, is really valuable as new contracts and new bids come to fruition. And finally, I think I just emphasize that margin expansion piece again. So, I'm not a finance guy, but I do think it's important that if quality professionals want to be able to influence, convince, and lead the board, we've got to use the language that the FD, the financial director, or the CEO, the chief executive officer, or MDs understand, and that ability to reduce the cost of poor quality is a vital selling point by the improvement pieces that you put in place through the continued use of this tool set and continuing to evolve your organization.
Good. Appreciate that. I see we've got a lot of good questions coming in. I'd say keep them coming. Again, for anyone who joined late, we will answer those at the end. Any ones we can't get to live, we will take offline and make sure to get you a written response sometime after the webinar. We'll jump back into screen share here. Terry, take us through what are the different use cases for AIMM, when to use it, why to use it. Give us some perspective there.
Yeah, so there are many reasons for performing an assessment. Can be just to assess the level of maturity of the whole QMS. Like that, as some of us said, it will make a benchmark with the rest of the industry. So it can be also on a selected area of particular interest. If we want to develop on certain activity and it will help to determine some new objectives. It can be also to verify the level of readiness of the QMS before a certification audit. Are we ready, or should we plan or replan the certification in 1 or 2 years? It is also to improve already certified quality management system. Can be after a certification audit or at any time. So like that, it will help to determine an improvement plan. It is also, and we were speaking about the top management of the company, it will help to set clear and quantifiable improvement targets, because that was at the origin of AIMM. That was the witness is that ISO 9001 and the 9100 are promoting continuous improvement. But when we are certified, what is the next objective is to maintain the certification, to maintain the certificate year after year. And it is not so motivating. But by using AIMM, you can select a given area or several areas, like in the example in the radar chart that you presented previously, where we can say, okay, by end of next year, we should be at level 3 here. the year after level 4, and so on. So it really can help to set clear and quantifiable improvement targets.
Great, thanks, Terry. And Jim, maybe give some perspective on your thoughts on use cases, and maybe specifically in your organization, how you used it, Jim, in the validation, and how you see yourself using it going forward. We might have you on mute, Jim.
Sorry.
No problem.
Actually, Thierry covered almost all possible aspects. I can only add that it makes the top management and the process owners speak the same language. This makes it easier to set goals for the next level in improvement of the system or improvement of the processes, or sometimes finding a problem, finding a solution to a problem. And about when to use it, can be used anytime, of course. But for us, the third-party reviews are very important for us, because when an auditor or customer comes, they come with their experience. So when they make a comment or criticize our quality system, it's always an improving point for us. Keeping that in mind and using that reviews and combining it with the AIMM's next level, achievable next level, I think it creates a better understanding and better goals for our quality system to improve.
Good. And Jim, you mentioned something to me I think is important too, just to emphasize is AIMM is a learning tool. It's a learning instrument, right? It helps provide context and allows you to draw on best practices from other organizations. So knowledge, organizational knowledge or institutional knowledge that doesn't exist necessarily at your organization level, you can now draw from the best practices and give yourself further context to the expected outcomes of particular areas of the standard. So I just want to emphasize, I think that was a very positive point you said to me before. So
yes.
Yeah. Jorg, how do you see this benefiting the Airbus supply chain or the supply chain in general?
I see a lot of benefits. You know, the Airbus supply chain consists in quite a lot of suppliers. I say sometimes that we don't know how many. We have about 3,200 first-tier suppliers. 3,200, yes, and about 6,000 second-tier suppliers behind serving the first-tier suppliers. And as you can imagine, we are relatively concerned about our supply chain and its maturity, especially at the current times before in the middle of COVID. We prepare for a ramp up. We have our order book still full, and we produce and we ramp up again already. So especially in our single area, and therefore this is a real good tool to help us to make this supply chain mature, because we cannot afford any quality escape in that supply chain, because the effects are always heavy and immediately impacting delivery. So therefore, yes, I absolutely see the value of that.
Great, thanks, Jorg. We'll go ahead and stop screen share. Time for our second poll. I keep seeing a couple questions come in about will the presentation material be shared. Everyone attending will get a link to the on-demand recording. That's free of charge. You can distribute that openly in your organization, but that'll go out after the event here. Go ahead and deploy the poll. There's just 2 of them in this. Should be seeing the poll now. 2 questions. One is, how do you see your organization using AIMM? Select any options that apply. And what do you anticipate as being the biggest blockers or barriers that may prevent your organization from deciding to adopt AIMM? So we'll try to give this about 60 seconds, get us to 70%. Then we'll ask our panelists for any comments that they see or have based on the data. So it looks like everyone's going quick. No, it's a shorter one, only 2. About 40%, getting close. Okay, up to 60%. Got a few more seconds here. Okay. All right. Looks like we hit our target. Go ahead and share the results here. Looks like vast majority see it as an internal continuous improvement, some supply chain continuous improvement, 20% unsure. And the biggest blocker being lack of awareness of AIMM and its benefits and top management engagement. Andy, any comments, thoughts on what you're seeing in the data?
Yeah, so, you know, valid points with respect to blockers. You know, people do have to go on an education process. There's a bit of a change curve there, you know, so why would I try and implement this initiative over another initiative? Because, you know, we certainly don't want initiative fatigue. But I suppose the beauty of AIMM in terms of linking it back to the standard is you've got a clear line of sight with, you know, the standard improvement and the ability to improve down the supply chain as well. So, you know, if your suppliers are doing it, you can get the visibility and ask them for where they currently are. And you've made a really valid point there that escapes really are very difficult to contain once you start to get, you know, into a high rate manufacture. So, you know, if Guami gets his way in terms of Airbus rate of manufacture, you're going to see something way beyond what we're currently at and significantly increased from what we were at pre-COVID. And so anything that we can do to ruggedize the supply chain and increase that resilience is going to provide benefit to the primes and to the customers ultimately. So I think that's a good selling point. In terms of, you know, how to deploy it, how to use it in the business, whether it's your business or your supply chain, I think there's a real need to understand a couple of key points. Some of them we've already covered, but I'll just touch on them. You know, this is about learning. It's about getting from compliance, you know, moving beyond compliance and getting into, you know, benchmark world-class territory. If you can get into that benchmark and world-class territory, it means that you're going to have fewer escapes, you're going to be more efficient, and ultimately it means you're going to be able to protect your margin in what will undoubtedly become a really competitive environment going forward.
Thanks, Andy. Jorg, any further comments to add to what Andy said?
It is a disadvantage that I have to speak after Andy. I see. It's the second time. Thank you for that, John. No, the point is really because for me it's clear. First, the thing is the answers. I like them very much because obviously we pass the message well that it is really improving. It helps to improvement. So this is clearly the answer, which I'm happy. And on the other hand, yes, top management, let's say involvement and helping convincing top management. As we know, it has to start from the top, yes, and this is helpful, absolutely. So nothing to add on top to Andy.
Great. We'll go ahead and jump back into slides here. You know, at a high level, a recommended deployment strategy for anybody wondering how to approach this. Obviously, like anything, you have to start by determining the possible objectives for the assessment. Our panelists have talked about the versatility of AIMM and how it can be approached at a micro, macro, full QMS. So it really depends on what are your objectives. From there, identifying and training assessors is obviously mission critical. Conducting an assessment itself and identifying the weakness, and then really using that to build out your roadmap for improvement or compliance, depending on the nature of the original objectives and targets. Terry, we've gotten the question a couple of times from past webinar and from customers of what is the role of an internal auditor play in the use or deployment of AIMM, and can they be part of AIMM, and what's their function and use of AIMM? So maybe take us through that a little bit, Terry. Well, Terry might have you on mute. There we go. Perfect.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yes, so I was saying that, first of all, an internal auditor can easily be an assessor, AIMM assessor. But in the other way around, it is not necessary to be a qualified auditor to conduct an assessment, because AIMM is quite self-explicit. There are many examples that are provided by AIMM, and that will help the assessor or internal auditor to better understand the requirements of the standard and the various maturity level. Whoever the assessor is, an auditor, a manager, or a process owner. And concerning the value of internal audit, AIMM can improve this value by helping the auditor to establish first the audit questionnaire, and then to identify areas for improvement or strong points. Because if the auditor can witness something that is maturity level 4 or 5 that is implemented in the area that is audited, this may be a strong point in saying, okay, this is above the average. In the other way around, if the auditor witness something that is at level 1 or 2, then the auditor can write maybe an opportunity for improvement in order to raise the performance, to raise the level of efficiency of the audited area. And I would like to add also another point, is that we are speaking about internal auditors, but we can see that we regularly receive requests for clarification from certification auditors. And AIMM, the AIMM criteria, and all the examples that are provided will help the auditors, the certification auditor, to better understand the standard and also to harmonize the classification of the findings from one auditor to the other, from one certification body to the other worldwide. Because we will have now a basis that is the same, whatever is the requirement, whatever is the sector and size of organization and so on.
Great. Thanks, Terry. Thank you. I know we're running right up on the top of the hour. We'll go a little over, try to answer some questions. Just a final kind of recap on resources. There is a training available through Plexus International that we partnered with the IAQG to develop. There's also a free version of that, a demo. It's about 15 minutes. If you're an IAQG member company, special pricing is available for the training. This is all e-learning based. Again, the AIMM web application is entirely free. On the training side, there's special pricing for members. After the event, you'll get a link to the on-demand recording. You'll get links to the AIMM web application. The IAQG has done a wonderful job in putting together deployment support material, including a user guide for the web application, a deployment presentation. That's all available on aimm.iaqg.org or go to iaqg.org directly. You'll find the training on AIMM on plexusintl.com. Again, don't feel the need to write it down. We'll make sure to get you the links and point you in the right direction. We will, as we wrap here, there'll be a post-event survey. We would ask for your feedback, and completing that gives us a sense of, did we hit the mark? Did we give you the information you need, and to continue to learn more about our audience? And with that, we will take a little time to answer some questions here. So I will pick through, and then we'll let our panelists decide who's best to answer it. So I see one question: where can I find examples to assess maturity level? I'll just quickly answer that one. I believe the AIMM web application, user guide, or the Plexus training, IAQG sanctioned training would be good options or good resources to consult. Another one here, do you know if some organizations use this tool to create inputs for management review? Any of our panelists have any thought on that?
We use it. We use a similar tool, yes, and I can really say it is a big benefit as well. We have as well a turnover of managers who have a certain learning afterwards, after having done it, after having seen it. And for me, it's very clear as well, after having been involved in the AIMM development on one hand, but on the other hand as well, after our exchange here today, I would really say that the AIMM maturity levels may become as well a request and a target of major OEMs in future, to be kind of prerequisite and assessment target to be selected for future work packages. This very, for me, it's very clear. This is it's likely to become such a thing. So I'm really happy about that, and thank you again.
Thanks, Jörg. A question about is AIMM going to be translated into different languages or just English? Maybe Andy, Terry, or Alfio. I believe that is in process, some translation of the AIMM Web application.
Yes.
Maybe just, go ahead.
I can answer. So there is of course, that was one of the very first feedback that we received from the very first users of AIMM is to have it in the local language. And so there is the Chinese and Japanese translation that are finished or about to be finished. The German translation is ongoing. The French and Spanish are going to be launched. So that means that in the middle of next year, we should have at least 5 more languages for AIMM, in addition to English.
Great.
And just to add to this one, if I may, the tool has been considered from the beginning to be multiple language. So the structure is always the same, only the language to explain differently may be different, but the structure is always identical. So you can shift from one language to the other and still see the outcome in terms of graphic in the same way, identical. This may be interesting for organization while deployed over different countries, may be also an interesting aspect.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Got a lot of questions here, so we're not gonna be able to get to them all. If you weren't here when I mentioned before, we will make sure to get you a response offline. Keep going. There's a question here. Can an assessor be from same department? Example, can 8.4 be assessed by the purchasing process owner?
Yeah, what we can say is that using AIMM, it's a voluntary decision. So you internally to your company, you take the most adequate person, and whoever is assessing, it is not in the interest of the company to lie about the result, and to self-assess itself at level 5 when we are at a level below. There is no sense. So whoever is assessing is witnessing some fact, and with the examples provided by AIMM, it is easy to say, okay, I am more or less at this level, and from that to set an action plan.
If I may integrate what you just said, Thierry, another element to be considered, however, is that one of the barriers was identified was the fact that you have to convince management, and usually to convince management in make additional tasks is extremely difficult. Of course, AIMM can be seen integrated into the internal audit process, not just for the continual improvement one. Therefore, if you want to integrate, you have to respect the rules of internal audit, and then independency of the auditor from the audit area should be respected. So let's say a different element that can be addressed. The tool is very flexible. You can do in a very different way. But if you want to integrate, for instance, with internal audit, please consider that you have to follow all the internal audit rules and then use the tool for giving you gap toward compliance or gap toward improvement. And then you can identify non-conformance or just improvement option, improvement plans.
Great, thank you. We'll take about 5 more minutes. I'm going to try to bounce through some quick ones here that I can answer, and our panelists can tell me if I'm wrong. They can correct me if I'm wrong. Does AIMM replace OASIS? No, AIMM does not replace OASIS. It's separate of OASIS, and it's a confidential tool that only you are able to see your assessment data. So entirely separate from OASIS. Okay. Will customers have access? Okay, that's kind of redundant here. Let's see. What is the main differences between SCMH assessment and AIMM? Any thoughts from the group?
Okay, so I can speak. So SCMH is much focus on the supplier capability. Is the supplier capable to follow the production rate of his customer, for example? And it is focusing mainly on operational activities. When AIMM is covering the whole scope of the quality management system, so it can be the management review, the human resources, and all the support functions. So this is a main difference. And also SCMH does not introduce this notion of steps to implement. SCMH is providing some bricks that are covering some specific topics from A to Z. First article inspection, APQP, root cause analysis, and so on. And when we look at AIMM, AIMM can refer, and not can, but refers to the SCMH topics by saying, okay, we can start to implement this at level 1, then level 2, then level 3. We could see that some SCMH topics are related to level 4 or 5, like APQP, for example, which is really a best practice, where there are some which are maybe at lower level, or some cover the 5 levels. So the two approaches are really complementary, are not in opposition, and have different purpose.
Okay, thanks, Terry. We'll take one last one and then we'll wrap. And again, I see a couple of questions. The AIMM Web application is free of charge. That's open to register. You will get a link to the on-demand recording. And just one last question here. Does AIMM tool allow to have less audit days if performance is as expected? So I don't know if that's necessarily related to some of the changes upcoming in the standard, but any thoughts from the panelists there in terms of impact on audit duration?
At least maybe it can come someday, but for now it is not the intention, because AIMM is a self-assessment. So if I self-assess myself to level 5, I'm not sure that the certification body will agree to decrease my number of days of audit. But nevertheless, if I can demonstrate to my certification body or to my customer that I regularly use AIMM, I was at this level 2 years ago, last year I was there, and now I'm here, for certification body and for customer, it will increase the confidence in my company, and it will show that I am really continuously improving, and may have an impact on the number of days of audit or of surveillance by third parties.
Now, just a general comment to add to that, Terry, too. I think if your performance is truly improving, that'll be valued as part of the certification body audit, recognized and factored in, obviously, to audit duration, or at least avoiding extra auditing based on performance gaps, right? So there's definitely a benefit there of driving improvement. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I know we're running over. First, I just want to thank everyone, attendees. Really hope this was a beneficial, insightful webinar event. Thanks to all of our panelists. I know you put time aside to prepare for this, get together and do all the technology tests. And I think this is a wonderful initiative by the IAQG. A lot of people involved, a lot of sweat equity and time to really create something that I think will last for many, many years to come and be built on. So any final comments? We'll start with Jorg. Any final comments from your end?
I can say thank you, John. Well done. And to all of you, I hope you will become a fan of AIMM, as I'm already. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Jorg. Terry, anything last from your end?
Yeah, it's for me.
Yeah.
Sorry. I would say that I hope that you will have the same pleasure to use AIMM that we had to develop it, and but at the end, it's not for the pleasure. It will really improve the performance of your organization and the satisfaction of your customers.
Great. Jim, anything else from you?
I would like to thank everyone, including the panelists. And I really encourage people to look into AIMM because it's very simple, very straightforward, very helpful to the system. I think everyone will benefit some way or another from the AIMM.
Great, thanks. Alfio?
Thank you very much for organizing this one. My major recommendation is try to use it, try to see if it's useful, and of course, provide us some feedback because we want to have this kind of interactive way of improving even the standard in a way. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy, any final comments from your end?
Just to echo Alfio's there, so a big thank you for you setting aside some time to listen to this, and hopefully you go away a little bit more informed than you did before you came. But please go and have a look at the AIMM website. It's very intuitive, and there's a lot of information that you can look at and take back into your organization in order to deliver some benefit. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. Hey, thanks to all for joining. We'll go ahead and wrap. Again, any Q&A we didn't get to, we'll get you written responses. Look for follow-up, and please ask you to complete the post-webinar survey. But thanks, everyone. Have a good evening, afternoon, good morning. Take care.